Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So you've been invited to that interview after countless of applications and time searching. You've finally been invited. You're probably feeling excited, ecstatic, over the moon, overwhelmed, and probably slightly nervous as well. But I'm going to share with you a few tips on how to prepare for an interview, no matter what kind of interview it is, whether it's a job, university, or face-to-face or over the phone, and how to navigate those awkward situations so that you can land that dream job, that university place, or anything that you are being interviewed for. So stay tuned. So the first thing you must do is prep and research. And yes, that may sound obvious, but believe you and me, when you are just overwhelmed with the excitement of just being invited to that interview after so long, you can sometimes forget to research, or at least not know exactly what you're researching for. Sometimes people always say, oh, do your research. Yeah, on what? I don't know the company. And so I would say the first thing is to look at their website if you can. Most places, of course, have a website now. They have some sort of online presence. So make sure that you check that out. First point of call when you do go onto their website is look for their annual report. Any company, which is a good company, would have an annual report. If they don't have an annual report, then, you know, it's like, okay, what's going on here? Check for their annual report. They'll have some key stuff in there. It's very long. You don't need to go through all of it. Just some key stuff like their successes. What were their successes in the past year? And also, you know, what worked and what are they looking towards in the next few years or the next year. Anything like that that you can just jot down so that you can mention it in the interview. People will be impressed with that because they'll see that you've done your research. Make sure that it's still relevant as well to what you're being interviewed for, whether it's a finance position, whether it's a marketing position or anything like that. Make sure that it always ties back to the role you're applying for and to yourself so that you can relate well. There's no point in just saying anything and everything and it's not really relatable to the interview. Make sure you always stay on course and pinpoint. That way it also helps you to stay on track when you are doing that research and it's not so overwhelming. So make sure you pull out those key facts. Any numbers that you can think of as well that is going to help you as well, like their any sort of research or any money that they were able to bring into the company and how that helps them on certain projects. If that's in there, that's great. It doesn't have to be every single report is different, but things like that that you can sort of jot down quickly. You don't want to remember sentences because believe you and me, that sentence you will not remember in that interview. So anything that is key, 1 word, 2 words that you can just quickly jot down and remember is good. Of course, if they don't have an annual report, or even if they do, also check out their news section. If they have a latest news or blog or anything like that, just check out the last couple of weeks or months before your interview and then bring out anything that was useful then, you know, anything that they, once again, was a key success to them, anything that you generally found quite interesting. You want to try and find things that are also genuinely interesting to you because that will definitely show in your interview. You'll speak more passionately about it, you'll speak more confidently about it because you understand it a bit. So make sure you just look for things that you're genuinely interested in as well, and that will help to bring it out even more in the interview. Whilst we're on the whole research thing, believe you me, the same way that you're going to be researching them, they're researching you too. And in the joyous time of social media that we are living in right now, they're checking you out. I remember when I went for my interview and they asked me a question and I answered it and they said, oh yeah, I saw that in your LinkedIn profile. And I was like, okay, you actually checked out my LinkedIn profile. To be honest, in the past few interviews that I've been on, like days before my interview, I've seen like the director, I've seen the person that'll be managing me or a colleague from that organization like go and view my profile. I've actually seen, oh, so-and-so has viewed your profile, and I thought, oh, okay. So on that, make sure that before you even start applying for jobs, make sure that you actually clean up your social media. Ensure that you don't have anything that is too embarrassing or that will damage your name or reputation or chances of even getting an interview, let alone a job. And just make sure it's all clean, you know. everything's private. You know, make sure that everything's turned on private so you're not searchable if you don't want to be searched. But at the same time, it can also work in your favor. So I mentioned LinkedIn. Make sure that when you are applying for jobs, even before the interview stage, make sure you clean up your LinkedIn profile. If you've got a LinkedIn and you haven't touched it for months or years, it's just so easily done, try and just update it a bit with a bit of information that you have from your CV. Jot it down in your LinkedIn profile. And if you can, which is what I did even before I started looking for jobs, I kind of got people to do that whole recommendation type of thing, like a sort of reference type of review of yourself. You can get people to comment on how they've worked with you, how you were at when they worked with you, etc. Get people to do that if you've made good connections and bonds with people in your workplace or previous workplaces, and that will really help as well, because that kind of acts like another referee or another reference for you, and it also kind of backs up your case when you're going into an interview saying, yeah, you should pick me, and this is why. I've actually got people saying how, you know, how great I am at my job or my previous jobs and things like that. So make sure you clean up your LinkedIn profile, because believe you me, they are checking it. So use that to your advantage as well. Okay, so also onto the questions. Make sure that you practice the questions, the type of questions that they would possibly ask you on your interview. And the most common questions, because I have been to a few interviews, and the most common questions that are normally typically asked are things like how you overcame a difficult situation in your workplace. What they're looking for there is basically how you're able to tackle and navigate difficult situations. Are you a panicker? Are you someone that freaks out? Are you someone that negotiates? Are you someone that is, you know, calm, cool and collected and has your ish together? They're not looking for an answer like, oh, I've never had a difficult situation because, you know, I'm just so great. No. It's reality. There's always going to be a difficult situation. I'm not saying mind-blowing where you're like stopping a fight or anything like that. This is not the situation. It's more just a case of, you know, if you were supposed to reach a deadline and it's coming up to it and you're waiting on someone else to bring the information and they're not bringing it, kind of thing. How are you able to overcome that type of situation? They're not looking for you to blame someone else and, you know, pass the buck, as it were. They're looking for you to take ownership. They're looking for you to see how you are able to navigate these difficult situations in a very professional manner. So make sure you come with something like that. Make sure that you are able to acknowledge the question that they are asking, and they normally call it a STAR, I believe. That is a technique, I suppose, that people, especially recruiters or anyone like that, they're looking for you to follow that kind of method, which is situation. So what is the scene? Set the scene, not too long, just a sentence, a scene, just a quick scene. You don't want to go into it, you don't want to start waffling on. And then T, which is task. What was the purpose of it all? And then the action, A, and that is what action did you take in this situation? And then finally, what was the result? So what came from that action that you took, and make sure it's always positive. Of course, you always want to show and demonstrate positivity always in your interview. Another one, which is typical, that they would probably more than likely quite possibly ask you, is how you handle stakeholder relationships. And it can sometimes typically be framed like that, and by stakeholders they can mean like colleagues or donors, sponsors, anyone kind of big, anyone kind of, you know, prominent and important in the workplace or connected to the organization in any way. And yeah, if this can be in any kind of situation. It could be in events, if you're in an events type role, if you're management again type role, director, anything like that. They're basically looking at how you're able to communicate and build relationships effectively and do it well. You know, they want to know that you're able to represent the organization very well, and how you're able to, yeah, to build those connections, especially if it's sort of a fundraising type role as well, or organization where funding is hugely important. Their stakeholders, their sponsors, those sort of people, their donors, anything like that is going to be very important to them, and you need to be able to show that you're able to build those relationships well. So again, bring it back to the whole STAR method, how you're able to demonstrate when you've been in situations where you've had to handle stakeholders, whether that be via email or face-to-face or anything like that, and how you're able to keep everyone happy is what they're basically looking for. Another one would be about management and team building, how you're able to build up the team morale, how you're able to handle difficult kind of situations within the teams, how you're able to motivate people and get things going. This again is quite typical if you are looking for a managerial type role, or whether it be sort of like a campaign type of role where you're campaigning on something. You need to build up the trust and the excitement and the motivation within your team members as well. So yeah, look out for those sort of questions, try and research them. And I'll say also, whatever job you are looking to go into, make sure that you do some research on questions related to that job. There's so much there on the internet that is quite helpful, and it's quite specific to the type of role that you're going into, so make sure you do some research on those sort of questions. Now onto your questions. Always come prepared with questions, and they're always going to ask you in a job interview or any kind of interview, whether it be a job or again university or anything like that. They're going to ask you, do you have any questions? And as much as by the end of the job interview, because I have been there, where you get to the end, you think, thank you God, I got through that, I just want to leave now, I'm done, I'm tired. You don't want to say no, I have no questions, because you answered them all. And to be honest, sometimes there's situations where they have answered it all, and it's like, darn it, I was going to ask that question. But always come with at least 2 to 3, probably more if you can, definitely. Always come with at least 2 to 3 questions that you can ask, because if they have already answered or covered whatever questions you did have, at least you've got some backup ones. Because you do, even if it's just one question that you have to ask them, you want to ask them a question, because it will just show that you are interested in the job, and you also still stand out. The question that you ask will always stand out. Whatever you say will stand out in the job interview, and they're probably interviewing so many people, and they you just want to, you know, grab their attention kind of thing, not in a negative way. So I've got a couple of ones to avoid, and a couple of ones that are quite good that, you know, I've used, and I've left the interview thinking, yeah, that was a good question, yeah. So I want to share that with you. So basically, the ones to avoid is, do not ask about money. Okay, don't ask about the salary or anything like that if you can. So if you go into the interview and you are not aware of the salary, because they have probably in the application, they probably just said competitive or something like that, which I really don't like. I think that companies should be very transparent in the salary and how much they are offering for this role, because let's be honest, we got bills to pay, and yes, we love the job and we love the cause and everything like that, but just as equally, we're very much attracted to the salary too. I mean, come on, let's be honest here. But I would say at all costs, try and avoid asking that question. If you do not know the salary when you're about to go into the interview, I would say if you have applied for the job or got the job interview via a recruitment agency, then speak to them. Ask them what the salary is, or ask them to find out. They should know what the salary is as well. So ask them the salary. If you didn't come through via a recruitment agency and you've done it independently on your own, then I would say before the job interview, then call up the HR department and just say, hi, I've applied for this role, or I'm looking to apply for this role. I just want to know roughly what is the salary for this job. Could you please let me know? That kind of thing. But I would say avoid asking it in a job interview, especially when you've come to the end, you've made such a good impression. I just think money, it's a bit awkward. It's a bit awkward. So try to avoid asking that. Try and get your head clear on that from the beginning. Another thing to avoid is asking about holiday pay or sick pay or holiday, how much holiday do I get, or anything like that, because that kind of, as much as, you know, you're referring it back to the organization, that kind of brings off the impression that you just want to go on holiday before you even start the job kind of thing. So try and avoid things like that as well. The do's. Do ask about the culture of the organization or the department, do ask about that. And I'll say phrase it by saying, what do you enjoy about your role the most? And I find that asking that kind of question really turns it around on their heads, and they have to now think, oh, like, we gotta impress them now, because we gotta make sure that this is the best place to work and everything like that. And it kind of takes the pressure off you for a bit, because you just think, okay, now it's your time to try and impress me. Don't go in smug, or don't go in all cocky or anything like that. Just ask genuinely, because you are genuinely interested, and then they will be able to give you a bit of insight for them of what it's like for them to work there. And then you're able to see and understand the culture, and also keep it positive. Don't say, what don't you like about working at the organization? Don't say that. Keep everything positive. Yeah, because they're more than likely going to say, there's nothing that I don't like, and it's just going to come across, it's not going to come across well at all for you, because they'll probably think, gosh, what kind of, like, yeah. So avoid that, asking that, but keep it positive. Another good question as well is to ask them what their expectations are of the post holder in the first 3 to 6 months of them starting the role. Now, I think that this is a really good question, because not many people do ask this question. Again, it's just a case of you're just glad that the interview's over and you just want to get out. So I would say ask this question, because it again gives you insight into their expectations of you. And I find that when I've looked for jobs in the past, so many job applications and job descriptions have been very overwhelming. It's almost like they want you to do and be everything. And you know, when they see the list of the job description, you just think, oh my god, am I supposed to do this all? Like, when do you want me to complete this all? Especially if there's a sort of probation, or you're not sure what the probation period is. It's good to ask this question, because you understand their expectations from them, and then you're able to gauge, okay, am I able to do this? Or okay, at least I know and understand. An ideal sort of response to that would be, we want you to spend time getting to know the company, you know, taking that time, easing yourself in. You just think, oh, this is a nice place, I love it, this is like a family culture, they care about my well-being and everything like that. Now, I will say this though, as a word of warning and caution. I asked this question once before in an interview that I did before, and yeah, the response was very interesting, one that I was not expecting. So I'll share that with you, just so that you are prepared for that, because I was not prepared for that. And basically, their response back to me was, I'm going to turn that back onto you and ask you, what are your expectations of your position in the first 6 months or 3 months, I can't remember. And that kind of stunned me a bit, because I was like, no, this was my question to you, is what I was thinking. So I basically said, because it was a sort of like a relationship type of role, like a sort of manager relationship type of role, and I said, you know, get to know the clients and blah blah blah, and really build up that relationship, find out what their pain points are to best create the right campaigns for them, that kind of thing, etc. And so their response back was basically, well, we expect you to hit the floor running from the first day and blah blah blah, and get results and blah 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 blah. And to be honest with you guys, that put me off severely. It really put me off, because it was an environment that I wasn't used to in the first place. So it was definitely me coming out of my comfort zone, number one. And number two, it's very interesting to ask these kind of questions, again, because I mentioned about the expectations, and I just found that their expectations were a lot. And it almost like they were expecting a bit too much for me, and you know, it was not for me at all. And I knew from then, and that, well, definitely from then and that response, that I just thought, this is not for me, this is going to give me a headache, this is not going to be good for my mental health and my well-being and anything like that, because yeah, it just was too much. So it can work either way, but I still think that's a very good question to ask, because again, you understand their expectations, and if they come back to you and ask you what your expectations are, then again, you know, just be truthful, to be honest, and just say things like, you know, I want to do the best that I can, so I am looking to see what projects are a priority and get to work with people, get to know the different departments and build relationships and things like that. You know, just be truthful, just be honest in that sense. But it's very good. It's a very good question to ask because you understand their expectations. And if nothing else, that will give you an understanding walking out thinking, is this the right job for me? Am I going to be stressed out in the first 3 months? And you don't have to be. You're not going to work to be stressed. So it's very good to understand that in the interview. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some really useful information and insight into how to really smash that interview and do well and be successful in your interview. And also just remember that when you are going for the interview, yes, you can feel overwhelmed and nervous and things like that, but also remember that as much as they are interviewing you, you're also interviewing them as well, and you are understanding, is this the right job for me? Because they're clearly interviewing because they need somebody. So as much as you need that job, they need you. So it's a two-way situation here, and as long as you remember that, you can go into that interview feeling so confident and feeling like you are in control of this, rather than just feeling like you just have to impress them. They have to impress you too. So remember that, relax and just enjoy it. If you've done enough prep and you've done enough research, then you will be fine, honestly. And just go in there enjoying the situation. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it all. See it as practice in terms of I'm just going in there giving it my best shot, and I'm going to learn from this whichever way it goes, honestly. If you like this video, please do give it a massive thumbs up. Also, please don't forget to subscribe and comment down below if you want to see more videos like this. I do have a few up my sleeve in terms of how to prepare for a job application and also how to negotiate money and salary in an interview. Yeah, it's not a walk in the park, trust me, but it's definitely something important. So if you want to see more of these videos, then please do comment below, let me know, and also subscribe to my channel. I love to see you again. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye.